This is Ruaha, Tanzania's second biggest national park, and at over 20,000 square kilometres, it feels it. A vast, sprawling wild space with huge views. It provides sanctuary to dozens of species, including the biggest elephants in the country. But is the preservation of such wilderness in a world hungry for food and space a luxury enjoyed by few? For national parks to endure, for wild spaces to stay safely wild, their benefit must extend beyond those few. We need to harness the support of the communities, the people who live with and beside wild animals. Human-wildlife conflict is an academic phrase until you are losing your livelihood to elephants that have rampaged through your maze overnight. So how do you mould the academic as practical? There is no one-size-fits-all, as Nomad safari guide trainer and conservationist Richard Knocker observes. Each place, each park, each problem, each person must be treated uniquely.
If you want to conserve wildlife and nature, what you really have to do is look after people, because without that, you don't stand a chance. Without winning people over, the land will be cleared, habitat will be cleared, and once the habitat's gone, then everything is gone. You're left with nothing. As people continually move into the few remaining wild places where there are still animals, inevitably you get conflict. Put yourself in the shoes of a villager on the edge of Ruaha National Park, when you've got your small flock of goats, and a lion breaks into your boma at night and kills 2 or 3 goats. That's a disaster. That's a proper disaster.
On the boundary of the park, the Ruaha Carnival Project, an Oxford University-led conservation initiative supported by Nomad and others, helps to manage the delicate relationship between pastoralists and wildlife by supporting communities to protect their livestock with the use of metal enclosures, bomas, which have replaced brush ones. Communities must be able to live safely alongside wildlife, so it's imperative to support a compromise and foster tolerance. But Nomad also looks to the next generation to sustain the message, as Ken explains.
I see it more in the young minds that are in school today, that we need to pass on what we are trying to do, because I will not be there in another 50 years, but they'll be there to oversee what we're talking about here.
A share of revenue helps prove the point of wildlife, as does employment. At Nomad, we strive to engage people from communities around our camps and build their careers with vocational training.
How does the butterfly become poisonous? Because most butterflies are not poisonous. So why is this one poisonous? That's the milk of the milkweed.
Yeah.
So that's the poisonous part of this plant.
Yeah.
And that's what.
But it's not just about a job. It's the chance to view wildlife through a more positive lens.
These are the Maasai. They live here. They moved down here about 250 years ago. You're educating them.
Kakai, senior guide at Nomad Entamanu, grew up on the boundary of the Ngorongoro crater. A childhood dream flourished as a career, and now he enthuses his colleagues with encyclopedic knowledge of the bush.
And that's his. Also, you see this very obvious white color. But this.
As he says, wildlife is much more than just revenue. Mankind's relationship with it is part of a valuable cycle.
If you lose all these wild species, it will be a big loss and a catastrophe to humankind, because you cannot be a species on your own. We're part of the ecosystem, and without that ecosystem that we are part of it, we lose the flow of energy and nutrient cycle, which we as a species, we cannot survive without it.
Looking to communities can forge the most unlikely, most encouraging of unions. Pius is an ex-poacher who grew up on the boundaries of the Serengeti. In the absence of an education, he sought to make a meagre and dangerous living by supplying the bushmeat trade.
Ninapenda sana mimi nije niwe guide na nitakuwa mfano hata wa vijana wengine ambao wako nyuma yangu. Watakazana sana, watakuwa nafikiri Pius alikuwa hivi. Mpaka sasa hivi ni guide, anapewa wageni mwenyewe, ana guide. Kwa hiyo watapenda sana na wao waje wawe kama mimi.
Ni kitu gani labda itafanya urudi na uanze tena maisha hayo ya ujangili?
Hakitakuwepo. Naamini kabisa hakitakuwepo. Chochote ambacho kitanifanya nirudi kuanza yale maisha. Kwa sababu sintaweza tena.
When he was offered the opportunity to join Nomad, he took it. Today, Pius is a scout on his way to becoming a guide. He can count on regular income, he can educate his children, he has been able to build a permanent home. His experience delivers a powerful message that wildlife is a valuable resource to be protected and one that gives back if you look after it. So how do you solve the conservation conundrum so that wild spaces survive as people thrive? It's not easy, but nor is it impossible. Nomad's Richard Knocker believes we need to take our conservation lessons from nature. Wildlife can only endure if we mimic these to create lasting symbioses, a collaborative relationship of tolerance and support between communities and commercial safari companies so that each benefit and together uphold the preservation of the game.